Thanks for staying with us. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure will investigate mismanagement of the Telkom Towers complex housing the South African Police Service. The investigation will also be extended to other properties owned by the department. The police headquarters building was closed by the Department of Labour and Unions after it was found to be uninhabitable. Joining us is Lesiba Thobakgale, who's a spokesperson for the South African Police Union. A very good afternoon to you, Lesiba. Thank you so much for your time. The state of police headquarters in Pretoria is reportedly too unsafe to work in. In fact, it was also highlighted by the Auditor General, who noted that 12 material irregularities had been identified in its report, and of these, 11 caused significant financial losses, with the 12th being the misuse of public land. What impact does this have on SAPU members?
Thank you for having us, Prof. Clearly, it has a negative impact on our members. If the SAPS management has the audacity to move our members from where they were working at and say they must move to Telkom Towers, which they know that in its nature it is not conducive for our members to work under, the conditions thereof are not quite good. You have a building that has some of its restrooms or the toilets not working. You have a building where sometimes there is no water, there is just dust all over the show. You find that the conditions thereof, the issue of ventilation, it remains to be a problem. What happens to when somebody comes and they have asthma? Some of them, they even develop some diseases which they didn't have because of such conditions that they are expected to work under. So that on its own, that is what made us as an organization to clearly make sure that we report the matter to the Department of Labour. And this was not the only building. We even had another incident where Backdays, which is one of the top head office of the South African Police Services in Pretoria, where there was an issue of water and lack of electricity, yet members were expected to work under such conditions. We also reported that building in 2022 to the Department of Labour, and it was closed down up until such issues were clearly resolved. And it doesn't only end with the buildings in Pretoria. Across the country, there are a whole lot of police stations which are not conducive for our members to work under. You find that there is no water. The toilets are really not in a good condition. Some of them is containers where members are expected to work under those containers in police stations. Buildings are not being built, like Marine Hill Police Station in KwaZulu-Natal. There is Emauti. We've got Mutili Start in the Northern Cape. There's Danone in the Western Cape. There's Wheatbank. And so on. There's a whole lot of police stations which are not in line in terms of where our members are expected or they can be able to work under such conditions. And we've taken a resolution as a union to say that each and every building that is not in line in terms of the safety and health environment prescripts, we will make sure that we report it to the Department of Labour. If then SAPS management does not resolve all of those issues that we are raising, then we would say that the Department of Labour must close it down, because our members, they have at least the dignity can be restored to them by making sure that they work under a conducive environment. So that is a battle that we are heading with the South African Police Services.
Who do you think is to blame here? Is it the South African Police Service, or is it Public Works' responsibility insofar as the decay is concerned?
People are shifting the goalpost. At the end of the day, it's not the Department of Public Works that take members and put them in those buildings. It is the management of SAPS that makes our workers and our members to work under such conditions. So they are the ones to blame, because they have a responsibility to make sure that if maybe a building, they know that it's not conducive for members to work under, they should make sure that those members are not going to function under that up until interventions are done. I mean, there's political interventions that can be done. Then management of SAPS, it has the National Commissioner, it has Deputy National Commissioners, whom, if they are serious about the working conditions of the members, they could clearly make sure that there are interventions that are done through the Department of Public Works to make sure that all buildings of the South African Police Services are in line with the standards that are required for our members to go and occupy such buildings. So we do not take that approach of shifting the goalpost for one to say, no, it is a building that is being maintained by Public Works. But what is it that SAPS management has done to make sure that those maintenance that needs to be done, or anything that has to do with making sure that the building it becomes to be in a good conditions, everything is done accordingly.
So we know that SAPS released a statement confirming that the staff had been evacuated from the only building it had been using at the Telkom Towers, and that the building remained closed until further notice is given. What then has happened to the members who are being housed there?
There are some whom were told to work from home. We know of legal services that they were told to work from home. Others were taken to other places because some of their functions are needed to be done within a specific building or whatsoever. It depends on what type of duties they are performing. And all of that, it is clearly giving a responsibility of blame on the management of SAPS, because it is them whom, if they had not moved members from where they were working to go and accommodate them at Telkom Towers, knowing clearly that it is not conducive, we wouldn't behave in such a situation. Sometimes we see that management of SAPS like to be reactive. Until you need to be proactive, and more especially when it comes to the safe and health of our members. We take it very serious. We don't take it light. If they are taking it light, that is why we will never take it light, and we will continue to report such conditions in such buildings to the Department of Labour up until we see a change. How
has this affected your members?
Definitely, it affects our members, more especially psychologically and even health-wise. Imagine you are accommodated in a building that has no ventilation. Who can sit for 8 hours? Some they even sit for more hours within those buildings without ventilation. Yet you are expected to be productive. Definitely the issue of production will also be affected. And now when it comes to the building being closed down, now our members, they have to be moved from from pillar to post, to maybe being moved from one building to the other, where you find that transport arrangements have been made in relation to the very same building accordingly and so on, depending on different arrangements. Definitely that will negatively affect our members if they are to be housed somewhere else. But at the end of the day, somebody has to take responsibility, and it is the management of SAPS. But at the end of the day, for us as a union, the health and the safety of our members, it comes first, because it will not assist if we have members whose health gets affected because of the working conditions that are not conducive in the buildings that they are housed in.
You mentioned safety, and of course of late we've seen the number of police officers being killed, of course on duty, all relating to the line of work they do. Where does it leave the work of the police and their obligations to the public?
Remember, the police have this duty to make sure that the inhabitants of the Republic are safe, and also their property they remain to be safe in terms of crime prevention and also crime detection. And that on its own, it continues to run, and it's not being run from buildings like Telkom Towers, where we say factional police are being housed there. Factional police are being housed within the specific units. They are being housed within those very police stations that some of them we mentioned, and the list to us, the ones that we've mentioned are endless. They are still expected to work under those circumstances. And it becomes a problem to say a member has to fight criminals who are out there to kill the police. At the same time, when they come to work to make sure that they are keeping you and I safe, when they come to work, they come to be accommodated in a police station that is inhabitable. It becomes a problem. So police, they must fight inside, and must fight outside when they have to fight criminals. Something has to be done. Management have to take the issues of the safety of our police officers seriously. They cannot fight double fight. At least let us jointly fight the issue of crime outside there. Not to come and finding ourselves having to fight even issues that has to do with accommodation, having to fight that has to do with safety and health environment that is guaranteed in terms of the law.
Lesiba, very quickly, this is a matter that has been raised on numerous occasions since around 2019, and of course the Auditor General also flagging this as a massive problem. What sort of solutions are you looking to?
Transparency is needed when it comes to these issues of buildings where renovations are done, and there's any issues where there happen to be any allegations of maladministration. We condemn any form of any maladministration committed by anyone. But the Telkom Towers was flagged for a long time, but yet even the building is not even in line. So whoever is responsible, they have to be held to account. Investigations should clearly show clearly who is responsible for such, and they need to face the law in accordance. Because if it was a constable who has allegations against him that he has taken a bribe of 100 rand, that member would be taken through Regulation 9 and expeditiously they will be dismissed within the police. We want to see the same as a union. We want to see the same when it comes to senior managers who may have been involved in these issues that relate to tenders that related to such buildings being held to account. Because every one of us, we are equal before the law. None is bigger than the other.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time. Lesiba Thobakgale, spokesperson of the South African Police Union there, speaking to us about this matter involving the housing of the South African police. And, of course, looking to this matter,